Hey Rob, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm
Oh,
good. You?
good. I was just in the middle before we got started of editing a bunch of photographs because I'm doing a thing about my workspace for Club Max Stories for this Friday. And I realized I hadn't done one in an incredibly long time, and I've slowly but surely taken over most of this area of my house. I've got a lot more going on down here than I used to, so I was taking some pictures yesterday afternoon, editing them today while I was listening to Connected and getting ready to talk to you. And this morning I was writing away, writing about it, and I don't know, about three quarters of the way through.
Nice. So you've taken over the whole basement at this point.
Almost. There's still a big TV down here with a couch, and the couch comes in handy if I get a little sleepy. I can always lie down.
Sure. Well, of course.
Take a quick old man nap.
You don't want to have to go all the way up the stairs like a chump.
It's true. I just live in my cave. No one has to know that John fell asleep in the basement. It's okay. I can just have my quiet time. Say, tell my assistant who lives inside my home pod to turn off the lights, and boom.
Oh, you are living your best life.
I am. That's
Really
that's
are.
home automation at its finest. Was like, well, I don't even want to get up and turn the lights off, but it's kind of bright down here.
Oh wow. At least you've got a solution to that.
I do. I have a.
I wouldn't want you to suffer too much.
Yeah, I've got a very good solution. So that's the TV's got the PS4. So if I could, I could always play some video games too. So I've got it all going on down here. The only thing I don't have are restroom facilities or any food.
You can sort that out. I'm sure.
I do have a little fridge down here, but I don't have a little refrigerator, but I don't have a bathroom. So we can work on it.
Sure. I'm sure the rest of your family won't mind if you do some building work.
Oh yeah, that's a little more involved to install plumbing down here. But what's going on with you these days?
Well, I think you probably saw. I went to see Back to the Future.
I did. It was in London,
accompanied
right?
by a live orchestra.
Nice. It was in London, right?
It was, yes. Yeah, so we went for, I don't know, I guess we got up there about lunchtime-ish. Had a little walk around, got some food.
Nice.
Went to a place called Honest Burger, which was
Yeah.
pretty nice.
I went there when I was in London last summer.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we went there. I'd never had it before, but it was really good.
It is really good.
I had one of their, I don't know, special chicken burger of the month or something, which was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then, went off to the theatre to see a live orchestra, which I feel like it was way more fancy than we should have been, than we were expecting.
Uh-huh.
I guess because an orchestra has that sort of, there's traditions and,
Right.
the way an orchestra happens. And, right at the end, the conductor's sort of like standing there and, everyone's bowing and everyone's clapping and the orchestra, what do you call it? The conductor's like walking on and off.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like, he must have done this 6 or 7 times. And I'm like, is this what they do at all orchestras? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. What part of London was it in?
So it's right on the South Bank
Okay.
by London Waterloo Station.
Oh, very nice.
Pretty much, by the London Eye and Waterloo, that kind of thing. It's the
Right.
What's it called? The Royal Festival Hall, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't spend a ton of time over that way when I was there, but I didn't actually get up in the London Eye. I'd like to do that someday. But that's a nice part of London. So what did they do? They showed the movie. It had the audio of the movie, but what did they just the music for the movie was recreated by the orchestra instead of the soundtrack? Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I'm guessing most of the people in the audience couldn't tell, but people like me who've seen it enough could tell that they had an edited version of the movie because they clearly done some cuts to be able to cut the music out so that the music wasn't coming from the movie, it was only coming from the orchestra.
So they actually had to cut out some of the video too then.
There was only a couple of points, we're literally talking like maybe 5 seconds of the whole movie, but
Sure.
I noticed. And the dude dressed up as Marty McFly at the front, I assume he noticed.
Yeah, he probably did. Was he on a hoverboard?
He wasn't.
Oh,
but he seemed very excited to be there, so good for him.
yeah, that's cool. Was it a big crowd? Did they have a lot of people there?
Yeah, it's reasonably big theater. I'm not very good at guessing
Yeah.
based on how many, but it's a reasonably big theater. I think they put on a lot of stuff. I mean, given the location, it's bound to be a fairly popular and big theater. The building's kind of huge. But yeah, like watching it with a live orchestra, I wasn't entirely sure when I booked the tickets. I was like, do I really just want to go and see a movie? But instead of the music coming from the TV, it comes from an orchestra. But actually, when you're there, like, it does make a huge difference, because obviously the theater is built to give you a decent oral experience from the music and stuff. So
Sure. Well, that sounds really cool. I've never been anything like that. You've done a bunch of different things. Didn't you do Secret Cinema sometime recently, like a year or two ago?
no, that was the other British guy that you know.
Oh, that's that Mike Hurley guy. I thought that you did it. I knew Mike did it, but I thought you did it too.
No, that's the other British guy that loves Back to the Future.
You guys all sound the same, so you all look alike too. But
sure, have you ever seen me and Mike in the same room?
no, actually, no. but yeah, no. I'm aware that you are two different people.
Okay, good.
All right, so. What else do we want to talk about today? I actually had to read a book for work, and lately I found myself having to read a bunch of books for work, and
what a nerd.
It's strange. Well, I read a ton, but I don't read a lot of books these days. And
this is the Tim Cook one,
right? It's by Leander. I shouldn't even try to say his name. Caney or Caney, or I don't know. It's kind of an Irish name, maybe. But he's one of the editors, or the editor of Cult of Mac, and he's done a book. He did one like a year or two ago about Johnny Ive, and then he did one called Steve Jobs' Brain. I've not read his other books. I read this one. Penguin sent me a copy, the publisher, to review it, and I don't know, kind of a mixed bag. I mean, the book, to me, the most interesting part was like the first third, where it goes into a lot of the it starts at like Tim Cook's childhood and his early career as an engineer, but once you get to and that part was really good, because I didn't really know a lot of that story. And the author went to Tim Cook's hometown, and he went and talked to some of the people he used to work with, and kind of between that and the text and substance of some speeches he's given over the years, wove a story of his early years that was interesting to me, because it kind of put it all together in a nice cohesive package that I was not really that familiar with. So it was new and interesting. The problem with the book, though, is like once you get to the Apple part, if you follow Apple closely, you're going to get a little bored with it, probably, just because it got to the point where like the middle part was really detailed discussions of what happened in 2012, 2013, 2014 with Apple, the first full years that Cook was CEO. And then it goes on to discussing the 6 principles that, he kind of leads Apple by. And those have been published in either a press release or like, SEC documents or something. Those were known, and I have read about them before. And going through them, some of them were kind of okay. But like, first of all, going through those 3 years, at very early years, it just kind of read like a year-end summary of what happened in the Apple that year. And
sure,
for someone like, I was already familiar with that stuff, and so it didn't really interest me that much, and there wasn't a lot of insight. And then when you get to the principles, it was better. I mean, parts of it, like for instance, there was one of them was it talked a lot about environmental initiatives, and that's one of those things that's played over such a long period of years, slowly and surely getting to using 100% renewable energy and all that kind of thing, that it was kind of interesting and nice to see it all put in one place and summarized in the span of 20 or 30 pages. But it also wasn't new. I mean, and that's kind of where, I mean, at the end of the day, I kind of fault the book for being not very insightful, really, being more like a really super long Tim Cook news story, as opposed to a biography that's has anything really to say about him as a business person or a leader of the company or what have you. And he did too talk to like 5 executives at Apple as part of the book. But it was all like Joswiak and Deidre O'Brien and Lisa Jackson. He didn't talk to Cook himself. Didn't talk to like Federighi or Schiller or Eddie Q, kind of that upper echelon of Apple leadership. And
yeah, I think that always tends to be the problem with a lot of these books. Is, as you say, I mean, firstly, like me or you could probably run through what happened between sort of 2012 and the years after that.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, if they're not talking to, say, Tim Cook or even his family to a certain extent, not that I would want, I don't want people like knocking on people's doors and stuff like that, but the people they're talking to just, it's this guy I worked with, or they kind of they do know him, but as you say, it's not, they're not talking to Phil Schiller. I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to add without actually talking to the people that know him really, really well.
Right. That's the problem too. I mean, it's like, well, first of all, he's still CEO, and all these people he talked to are still working for him. So, I mean, what are they going to say, really? The guy's like, the guy, I really don't like him. He's super obnoxious, and he gives me too much work, and I don't like him. I mean, that's certainly not going to be the case. And I always look a little sideways at books that interview people from the company who still work at the company, only because I feel like there's a certain level of Apple PR involvement, and Apple. The reason they talked to that person was because that person was writing a book that is not critical in a way that Apple would not like. So I don't know. It was overall, I think it was a good book, and I think it's worth reading if you're interested. If you're interested in the early years of Tim Cook and kind of like who he is and where he came from, his upbringing, it's worth reading because it does kind of shine a light on some early events in his childhood and growing up and early career that informs views of him today and what he's doing and the decisions he makes and that kind of thing, which I think is valuable to learn about. The rest of it, though, if you follow Apple really closely, it just gets a little. I just found myself skimming the latter parts of the book, just because it was a little bit. It was just like old news to me. I actually thought of it though. I was like, well, I'm glad I have this book because I not only do I have the paper version, but I have a PDF version, and now I can just search things and like I can fact check dates and things using this book when I'm writing for Mac Stories, because I felt like I had a really good chronology of the last 10 years.
I was actually going to ask you, not particularly about the book, but about the sort of that they obviously sent you an advanced copy.
Yeah.
So they sent you a physical version and a digital copy?
Well, they actually sent me a few things. First,
I see.
First, they sent me a DRM'd PDF that was a huge hassle to download because it was just on this Byzantine book sharing DRM thing where it could only be opened in like I think it was Adobe has some book. It's all it is a PDF with DRM, but it only opens in this Adobe Book Reader app. So the first thing I did, as you can imagine, is I stripped the DRM because
of course
because that was just getting in my way, and I couldn't put it where I wanted it. So I'm not going to sit at my Mac and read a 250-page book. So, and yes, there were iOS apps, but I want to just throw it into iBooks. So I did that. Then again, PDFs are not a particularly good way, I don't think, to read a book. I'd rather read an actual EPUB or, Apple Books, whatever it is. They're just a little nicer in terms of reading. So, because you can highlight, it's easier to highlight and that kind of thing. So what I did, they had offered to send me the book. So I said, yeah, go ahead and send it to me since they offered. And the first thing they sent me was it was basically a not quite final version of the book. It hadn't been thoroughly proofread yet, I guess. And so they're like, oh, there might be typos. I actually never read that book because I took it with me to Ireland and a few weeks ago and thought, I'll read this on the plane, but I didn't. And it was like the final book, but it was a paper cover version, and it had really like low quality paper and low quality print. It was just like it was a rough draft type version. So I actually recycled that yesterday. and then without asking, they just sent me the final book like right after I got home. So I just like, that's what I ended up reading. I just like, I'm going to read the final version, and I read the actual book that you can buy on Amazon or wherever.
Okay, I was just curious how that process worked. I mean, I've
Yeah.
done some like technical review stuff for books in the past. But obviously, that's all in like Word documents and PDFs. So I was curious how a review process works. And I guess, yeah, you get your DRM'd PDF and a couple of different versions of the book.
Right. So yeah, they had this whole website that's dedicated to basically anything Penguin publishes, and it looked like I had access to the other books, but I didn't really bother fiddling around with that at all. And it's I think the person who contacted me worked at the publisher and wasn't just a PR person. I don't know. It wasn't the author. It was
Sure.
somebody
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
somebody trying to sell the book. So
cool. Well, you sent this to me, but I'm not going to be able to get this. I have a suggestion for you to go and get lunch.
Oh yeah, we've talked on and off about junk food oddities, I guess I would call them. If you go back to I think wasn't it the very first episode when we talked about the YouTuber pizza with the little mini burgers on it?
That was indeed the first. That was the first released episode, at least.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we talked about a hamburger. It was a pizza with hamburgers on it, which is a really weird thing. We've also talked about, of course, KFC, and I don't even remember what that thing's called, where there's no bun. It's like 2 pieces of chicken.
Oh God, the double thing!
You know what I'm talking about?
It makes me feel sick thinking about it. I did not enjoy that.
I think that was being sold again when I was in London last summer. I think I remember seeing billboards for it in London.
Yeah, because I think that you were here. You were in London like a few months, I think, after I'd tried it. So I guess it probably was still around.
Yeah. Anyway, it's 2 pieces of fried chicken with stuff in it, like so that the fried chicken was the bun. Is effectively what it was. So we've talked about that. We've talked about things at Taco Bell. I know at some point.
I had the chicken thing, the thing where the taco shell is chicken.
Oh yeah,
it's taco shell.
Those companies are owned by this. It's all synergies, Rob, because I think Taco Bell and KFC are owned by the same corporate parent. So they're just looking for ways to turn chicken into bread.
Oh God!
Turn fried chicken into bread. I mean, who needs bread when you have a piece of greasy fried chicken, right?
There you go. I mean, it must be easier to breed chickens, I imagine, than make a loaf of bread.
Yeah,
I'm no farmer, but I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. Well, you've clearly proven that you're no farmer.
Right.
So I ran across this just before we were getting ready to record today, and I don't know if you're familiar with the fast food chain in the United States called Carl's Jr.
I've heard the name.
Okay.
But I don't. I assume this is just like a burger place, or like a McDonald's, Burger King type place. Is that what it is, or is it more of a restaurant?
No. I think it is kind of like that, and I'll tell you, I'm not that familiar with it either because this is mostly out west. This is like west of the Mississippi. So I don't think I've ever been to a Carl's Jr. They're in California. This one that I'm reading about is in Colorado. And they are having a special hamburger on April 20th, which, 420 day, right? So, right. So you hadn't read that part yet, had you? They call it the Rocky Mountain High Cheeseburger Delight. And the delight is the fact that it is CBD infused Santa Fe sauce at one Denver location only. So you're able to get a marijuana infused hamburger in Colorado, and it's too far away, Rob. I can't do this for the show. I'm sorry, because the 20th is nearly upon us. It's this Saturday, and I have plans for the weekend, so I will not be in Colorado.
And I'm certainly not going to fly all the way to Colorado just to try this.
Anyway, I wanted to bring it up because this is not only is this a rarity and a little bit of a fast food gimmick, as we've talked about before, it's only in one restaurant in the entire United States. So if you live in Denver and you want to try a cannabis cheeseburger, you can go to this one Carl's Jr. And it doesn't. This article that I'm reading, it's in the, what's funny about this? It's in on a web. I saw it on a website called The Hill, which I thought was a political. I think it's a political website, but
I thought that was as well, but maybe not.
But I guess they're expanding. Why not?
Well, I suppose maybe the cannabis thing in general, I guess, is more of a.
I suppose
potentially.
I guess I guess there's a connection there. It's also just one of those, it's a little clickbaity. They also in the sidebar here have an article about how Guinness is going to stop using plastic rings and wrap on its multi-pack. So good for Guinness.
Well, good. There we go.
I don't know how they're going to hold those cans together. I mean, maybe they're going to do a cardboard package, but then the recycling people won't be very happy about that.
Yeah,
it's not much.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever been to this website. I think I've probably heard about it on TV shows.
This website has lots of ads, Rob. There's lots of ads here.
Not on my screen. Not with my ad blocker.
Well, you know what I did? I've been still setting up my new Mac Mini, and I have not. Oh no.
I know what's happened.
Autoplay ads. Sorry, I know you couldn't hear that. I know you couldn't hear that, but all of a sudden I had loud music in my ears. Yeah, but it had a lot of ads. I was going to read you some of how they always have I always like those articles that they put at the bottom of the page, which is like a grid of sensationalistic things about how you're going to die or some sort of wardrobe malfunction of some celebrity.
Oh, here's why Hollywood won't hire this person anymore. And you look at it and it's like, that's an actress who's been in loads of things recently.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, that's what you can do. You can go to Colorado and get yourself a cannabis burger.
Yeah, well, as I say, I'm not going to make that. For sure, I'm not going to be able to get there in time.
Yeah, well, if somebody out there of our massive listening audience makes it to this restaurant and tries this hamburger, we'd like to know. Drop us an email. Let us know what's going on with this burger.
This is very important.
This is like research. This is the kind of thing that nobody else is going to write this article. I mean, I'll pitch it to Federico. I'm sure he'll say yes. We don't write about hamburgers on Mac Stories very often, but why not? Why not?
There you go. Yeah. So, what else have we got?
I don't know.
Galaxy folding phones are not doing so well.
Oh, I know. I was sitting here editing my photographs and kind of listening to Connected and looking at Twitter at the same time, as you do. And I started seeing all these tweets from first Mark Gurman, who basically showed how his his Galaxy Fold had the screen, the left-hand side died, and then it progressively died more and more on the right-hand side. Then MKBHD was having problems, and then Dieter Bohn at The Verge was having problems, and then I saw somebody else at some other publication said they had problems. By the time I scrolled all the way to the top, I think I'd seen 4 or 5 folds that had died, which I think they were just handed out like 2 days ago. Essentially, I mean that at least that's when the reviews hit.
Yeah, I think MKBHD put a video out yesterday because it had arrived the day before, so yeah, a couple of days. Now, one of the things I had noticed, and I saw them going back and forth, I think it was Gurman and MKBHD, there's what looks like a screen protector on the Galaxy Fold.
Yeah.
Which apparently you're not supposed to take off, but both of those guys had taken it off, but because it doesn't tell you not to take it off, apparently.
It's a screen protector, but I thought from the pictures, I thought that was just because it looked like that because the thing's made out of plastic. You know what I mean? Like it was like, so they took something off that they weren't supposed to, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is what they're saying. Although it seems like it was like not a screen protector, but like on the iPhone where you get that peely plastic that is all wrapped around it when it's brand new.
Right.
It seems like there's something like that on the screen. I don't know what's going on. But this is not good for Samsung.
No, and it's not like it's like a little thing. It's completely destroyed, basically, which is, I don't know. It's interesting. I excuse me. Yeah, I think the Fold is interesting. I think foldable phones are interesting. I think we've got a ways to go, though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sat. We're not sat here like breaking news or anything because. Maybe it's just this first batch. Maybe there legitimately is a problem. But it's just one of those things. Maybe they've screwed up or whatever it is, but at least it's interesting. It's interesting to see a folding phone, even if it's not very good right now. In 5 years, we won't be thinking, "Oh, you remember this Galaxy Fold that broke?" Like, these will be fine in a few years. But
right,
yeah, Samsung's PR team right now must be scrambling around trying to fix this.
No, it's terrible because it's like all these high-profile people too who are tweeting back and forth about it. Is yours broken? Yes, mine's broken. Is yours broken? Yeah, mine's broken too. It basically it has that look of a damaged LCD screen where it just part of it goes black and then it's almost like the liquid crystal is oozing through the screen, and as the lights go out slowly.
Yeah, I am. I'm guessing MKBHD's review isn't coming in the next couple of days, like he said it was.
Right, that's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah, pretty interesting, but I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, in some ways it's a shame as well, because I'm really interested in these folding phones. Like, I'm not going to go buy a Galaxy Fold; it's really expensive, even if they didn't break. But I want to see this move forward. I want to see some more interesting phones, but I don't think this is going to be the one.
Right? No, I don't think so either. And well, I guess we'll see. I mean, there's obviously other manufacturers who are working on the same problem, so. Maybe we'll see somebody else get it right, but at the moment, this looks kind of messed up.
Yeah, definitely. So should we wrap it up for this week?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, I think we just broke some news. We never do that.
Yeah. Boy, you're gonna have to get this. You're gonna have to get this episode out really fast because these tweets are almost an hour old. Rob, come on.
Well, has Connected finished recording yet? Can I get out before that?
I don't know. Quickly.
Oh, God. I'm going to have to race. No, I'm sure
they started before us, but they go longer, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Cool. Well, yeah, I guess I will certainly be keeping an eye on what's going on with the Galaxy Folds. And we might be able to, hopefully maybe there'll be some videos or we'll have some more information. But yeah, I guess we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Talk to you then.